Hey,
All right.
everybody, it's Mark Masters, Always Bookin Comedy. You're probably watching this on a Monday night, but this is a special off schedule recording. We're not taping this one live, so no viewer questions. Eli, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good, man. You're in the New England area. Remind me where exactly?
I live in Boston.
Boston, Massachusetts. Awesome. And why, unless this is a sensitive issue, why are we doing this off schedule? You're not available Mondays for.
Oh, Mondays I host a stand-up comedy open mic,
You are the
and
best.
I'm very dedicated to the craft of hosting open mic comedy.
I love open mic hosts. They're the angels of comedy. They make it all
Oh, it's
possible. Anybody who's
it's
good at comedy, that was made possible by an open mic host. So thank you for doing that. Tell us about your open mic.
it's an open mic that I host in the back room of a bowling alley. It's extremely hard to find the room. It's might as well not exist, but it is a very fun open mic.
Do you get actual audience members or is it just comics?
No audience members. It's all comedians, but I get like 15 to 20, sometimes 30 comedians. So it's a good time. It's right down the street at a dispensary is another open mic an hour earlier, so people are easily able to double up with mine.
Oh, that's great. That's cool. How do you find that bowling alley back room?
It's a bowling alley that I used to work at.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's a bowling alley slash arcade where I used to have a job fixing the arcade machines.
No way. Oh, that's cool. Did you fix pinball machines too?
I did fix the one Aerosmith pinball machine that they do have there.
Wow. That's amazing. That's pretty neat. What was your favorite machine to work on?
Favorite machine to work on? The pinball one was definitely the coolest. It's definitely
Okay.
got the most. Pinball machines have the most like intricate, like old school machinery.
Yeah.
While a lot of like
Did
new
you get like a
machines are,
soldering iron out or you just like a
yeah,
screwdriver?
gas powered, like one of those wireless gas powered soldering irons.
Wow. Neat. And you had to use it to like
Oh yeah.
prepare.
Well, the issue with that one was that the flippers weren't working anymore, and that's just because the wires got disconnected, so you just have to resolder them.
Nice. Somebody was a little too aggressive.
It's right next to Fenway Park, so most of the clientele there are extremely drunk Red Sox fans.
Awesome. How much does it cost to play a pinball game anymore? By the
At
way,
that
this is
arcade,
extremely hold on a second. I'm gonna let you answer this. This is extremely unprofessional of me, but I'm on this customer service call with one of these meal service delivery things or a chat thing, and it's been going for 4 days, and I just got a little ping that they got back to me, and I'm gonna peek at that for a second while you finish this answer about
oh, you got it. You go get him,
okay.
champ.
All right. I'm gonna get this free box of meals eventually.
I believe in you. Honestly, the price of pinball can be a little controversial, to be honest, because I've seen some places charge like $1 per play, which seems extremely expensive. In my opinion. I mean, like a lot of like barcades and like breweries that have pinball machines will be like it's $1 a play, so you end up spending like a decent amount of money to play a few rounds of pinball. When like some places will charge, I think what's more reasonable is like 25 cents to 50 cents a play.
What is this, 1975? Good Lord, Eli. How much do you charge for your comedy shows?
About 25%, 25 cents to 50 cents a play.
This
Same
is
thing.
fascinating to me. You're younger than I am. How much should a can of soda cost?
A can of soda, I mean, if you're at like a golf course, like $1. If you're
Okay.
at like if you're at like a restaurant, it can be like $1.25 to $2.
Okay. All right. That's more modern day. That does not line up with your 25-cent pinball
No,
opinion.
that's how I think it should be. I'm almost 30, so I'm starting to come up with ideas for how things are supposed to be.
Yeah, I got it. Nice. Awesome. All right. Well, you used to work. That's super interesting. You ever talk about that on stage? I think that would be
I
very
talk about
unique.
it at the open mic and pretty much exclusively at the open mic.
Nice, nice. I think that would make great, interesting material for you. Um,
Definitely. There's a lot of things that I've like banked that I should talk about that I haven't. Like there's a time where I almost got into a fight with a magician, but I just haven't
You haven't
figured
gotten
out how
around
to
to it
work
yet.
that into a bit, but it's
It's on the to-do list. Nice.
a magician threatening you to kick your ass is very, very funny.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you just gotta make him disappear, right?
He was one of the mind reading magicians.
Oh, okay.
He didn't know I was going to say that though.
All right, so tell me a little bit more. How do open mics work in Boston? Like, how much time are people doing at your mic?
I guess most places will offer 5. I've developed an extremely complicated, stupid system. I've
Okay.
overcomplicated my open mic where I've like taken things that I've liked from other open mics and put them all into one.
Okay.
Like most open mics are just like, sign up regular, like you show up and go up, you just sign up on a list. Some places will do bucket style where you just put your name in a bucket and they draw it at random.
Okay.
What I've done is I've combined both methods where people can just message me before a certain time before the mic starts and I'll put their names in a bucket and then I draw all the names at once to form like a pre-list. And then
Okay.
after that people can just sign up on the list normally. And I post the list online so people like know where they're at.
Nice.
It's a little helpful because if they're like trying to double up at the other open mic down the street, they don't have to worry if they're going to miss their spot or anything. They just know where they're supposed to be.
Right. Um,
And then I try to get them to support the venue, which can be hard for comedians on a very low budget, but I try at least. So I'll offer 3-minute sets just normally, and if they buy literally anything, whether it's like a game card for the arcade or like some French fries or anything or soda, whatever, then it bumps it up to 6 minutes for their spot to try and
that's
like encourage supporting the venue. But honestly, the venue is kind of pricey, so I get why a lot of people don't do it.
right. Yeah. Well, that's good venue relationship management because, like, I mean, half the battle is just having the venue available to you.
Well, that's
And
the whole thing with like open mics and comedy in general, like doing comedy at bars or doing open mics at bars. The whole like point is that the venue gets something out of it. Otherwise, they're gonna tell you to stop doing comedy.
right. Yeah, you're not paying rent is
No, I mean
the
you
crux of
see
that.
post after post of people being like, "Sorry, the venue
Yeah.
started getting upset that we weren't making any money."
Yeah. Yeah, pretty rough.
So no
Or the venue
Monday
goes
open
out of
mic.
business. A lot of time,
Exactly.
like in Denver, I don't know if this is true everywhere, but it's like half the time a mic will start at a business, that business will be out of business within 6 months. It's like they're
It's
so
weird. I haven't seen that. The big like venue killer in Boston was the pandemic. After that, before
mm,
and after that, like most places that have had open mics that don't anymore still exist. Like they're still open as businesses. It's just I guess management changed or comedians that ran those stopped doing comedy, so they just stopped doing shows.
right.
But it is kind of weird. You would think that a lot of places like that are like desperate enough to let a comedian do an open mic are like on their last breath.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. It kind of makes sense. Once you go to enough of them, you're like, "Oh, I see why this is happening."
Oh, I see why
Um,
you guys are like said yes to me. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Talk to me about show running a little bit. You're a proficient
Show running.
showrunner.
Show running's been it's been a journey. I've before the job I had before working at the bowling alley arcade is I was managing a comedy club,
Do you
and
wanna talk
I
about that
oh
some?
sure
I think that's super
yeah I
interesting.
can talk about it a little yeah
Yeah.
I I was managing there like before the pandemic for 2 years,
Can
and
you
then a
say the
year
name
into
of
the
it, or
pandemic.
would you prefer not to?
The name of the club?
Yeah.
It's not open right now. They're like in the process of like reopening again.
Okay.
It's a club called the Comedy Studio in Cambridge.
Yeah. I've been to a couple of their locations over the years. They've
Yeah,
changed.
there was the Hong Kong Bow Market, which is the one I worked at in Somerville. Well, I worked at the Hong Kong, but not as a manager. But Hong Kong to Somerville, and then they're moving back to Harvard Square now. We're in the
Which was
process
that
of
the
that.
one that was in the container kinda park?
Like it's like a mini outdoor mall kind of
Ye
place.
yeah. Yeah, and
Yeah,
it was
yeah, that.
upstairs.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah, yeah.
one.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool. I've been there. Yeah, yeah. Or was there. I guess it's not there anymore. Uh,
No, there is another group doing comedy shows there at that same space though. They seem to be doing well. It looks really nice.
interesting. Huh,
Just a comedian running shows.
Huh.
But I mean,
Do
they look great.
they pay rent on the space, or is it like a bar,
Oh, it's
restaurant?
like it's like a space I think that the landlords own. Well, I mean,
Okay.
like they own the whole land, but I think it's a space that they like. It's not anyone else's business. They
It's
just like
specific,
run,
like, for events.
kind of something like that. I'm not
Yeah.
too sure. I haven't been there in a while,
Huh.
but it's something like that. Yeah.
That's
But
that's that's wild. Okay, so what was it like working at a comedy club? What is it helpful for your current comedy career?
oh, I learned a lot from that
Tell
job. Yeah,
give us your
100%.
top 3 lessons.
Well, it's one thing I learned that's good is when booking a show, because I mean, especially when you're booking like bar shows or like weekday shows or things like that, like lower budget shows, that you're mostly doing like showcase format, right?
Yes.
You know, like 6 to 7 comedians on the show or something like that. And so at that point, it's better to have a variety of like different perspectives and like different kinds of comedians. Like you don't want to see the same kind of act 6 times in a row.
Right.
And it's like
Exactly.
kind of learning like where to like even with that, like learning where on the lineup to like put everyone.
Mm.
And
Wait,
sometimes you don't always
tell us
have
about
like
that a little bit. How do you manage, like,
like you want to start off high energy, but you also want to end high energy because by the end of the show, the audience can get like they can run out of juice and
okay,
they can get a little sleepy, you know. And I also like I work with a group that like that does weed shows, so
okay.
weed crowds can especially get sleepy towards the
Yes.
end. So like you really want to you want to plan to like try and have some high energy towards the end of the show. Like no matter how good a comedian is, if they're like low energy, like kind of like quieter, they might not have a good set at the end
Yeah.
if
That's
they're on
interesting.
later.
I hadn't really considered that too much. That's a valuable lesson. Thanks.
I mean, I could be totally wrong about that, but
What do you think
it's a
about
working theory.
the strength of the comics? Where do you put your strongest and your weakest comic?
I mean, sometimes you want to put them first, sometimes you want to put them last, sometimes you want to hit the audience with a huge like with a real punch at the beginning so that they like trust you that
Yeah.
they're in a small room in the middle and like hidden in a brewery and that they made the right choice giving you their money to come here.
Yeah.
Sometimes you want to like lead up to like a big surprise, but
Okay.
that works better when you're like doing the kind of show that we did in Littleton when the show you were on when it's like when there's like 3 or 4 people on the show. Then you
Yeah.
can like when you're leading up to a headliner, it just makes more sense for that. But like with a showcase, I think you want to like hit hard, and then like you want to give a little room for because you have guest spots on usually, so you want like newer people to have a good chance.
And so where do you put those newer people?
I'll put newer people like second or third. The other thing is that you a lot of times don't always have your ideal choice because a lot of times comedians are like, oh, I'm on 2 other shows tonight,
Mm,
so I need to go early, I need to go later, I need to go in the middle. And
sure.
sometimes you just got to compromise and be like, well, they're gonna have to plan around that as best as you can.
Right. Yeah, I think that's the general, like, you never want the weakest person to open, and you need them, like, kinda like, you wanna give them a good spot.
Yeah,
That kinda doesn't make a ton of sense, but it does now that I've been doing comedy a long time. The person who's weakest, you wanna set them up for success. You wanna put them, maybe a third of the way into the show. The audience
yeah,
isn't tired yet, but they've been warmed up. They're starting to drink, feeling a little loose. So you definitely you wanna put it on easy mode for
yeah.
the
And
weaker.
then if you're worried about like if they're gonna do well or not, you want to put someone good after them just to
Yeah,
like
exactly. And there's plenty of time to clean up the show. People won't
yeah,
even
exactly.
remember the bad set if they have a great time during the feature and the
Well,
headliner.
and the other thing is a lot of the work, a lot of that like work falls on the host. So, like having a good host is so important
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
like they might not like set it up as like this is like a brand new person, but they might like get the crowd in like a very supportive mood.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
they can really create a mood among the crowd that's like very helpful so
Yeah.
that they're like ready to have a good time.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit more about, tickets and, like, getting butts in seats and charging money for tickets and
Oh,
how.
that's always the hardest thing to do is get butts and seats. I mean, when I worked at the club, tickets were like $10 on the weekdays and then uh 15 to like 18 on the weekends for like Fridays and Saturdays. So if you're charging a lower price, it's a little easier to fill seats, especially if you're putting on a good show.
Did the club have a drink minimum?
No, they didn't have a drink minimum because they didn't have their own bar until the Bow Market space because they were operating out of the Chinese restaurant at the Hong
Okay.
Kong before that. So they didn't food and drink sales. Well, one, they like sold themselves, but two, they didn't need to worry about that.
Okay.
And then at the Bow Market space, no drink minimum either. It wasn't really anything we were worried about.
Yeah. So how would you get people to show up?
Uh, a lot of foot traffic was important, just like getting your name out there with like signs and billboards and like sandwich boards. Uh, then eventually transitioning to, like social media marketing, like Facebook ads and Instagram ads and stuff like that. But sometimes it's a lot of word of mouth too, just like if you have local businesses come to, like if you invite people that work at local businesses near your show just to come see it for free, then they'll start telling their customers about it. It's
Yeah.
some nice word of mouth. Like getting recommended stuff by other local businesses is great word of mouth.
Yeah. How would you facilitate that? Would you just say, "Show up, I'll recognize your face," or do you have promo
Like
codes?
message our Instagram or like, get them like connected to you, get them giving you your phone number, whatever. Just
And then would you
or
actually
just or you
ticket
can give them
them?
like
So
you can also get like a stack of like promo cards printed that if it's a stack that only they have and they bring that card to you, then you know that who they are
nice. Yeah.
or
Yeah,
something like that.
it seems like sometimes, like, if I'm too public about comps, other people get frustrated. Like, if somebody walks to the door and they're like, "Hey, I was told I could get in for free," and then I'm like, "Okay, you can go in," and then the person overhearing that, I've, like, charged
Oh
them.
yeah, you don't
They're they're
it
not
gets
happy about it, so
that goes back to like when I was in college, I like bought a keg of beer to like sell beer at my friend's party so I could like fund a project I was working on.
Uh-huh.
And all my friends obviously get free refills, but everyone else gets, it's like $1 refill. This
Okay.
one guy hears that and then yells to the entire party that refills are free.
Oh, geez.
It's not that ruins everything.
Yeah. Yeah, so you gotta
Well, then
keep it
people feel
silent.
like they're getting gypped, which really sucks because you don't want your like regular customers to feel like they're getting scammed because it's not like that, but it's
Absolutely. So what do you when on your indie shows, how do you do ticketing?
um we do at the club we did Eventbrite and now with the Littleton show, I don't do tickets at all. It
Right,
just
it's
kind of
free.
it kind of fills itself because it's a local brewery, and so it's just a very local crowd. I don't really have to worry about that. But
Hmm,
with the other group I work for, Comedy Party, they use most people use Eventbrite still that are
okay.
doing DIY shows.
Pros, cons? You like it?
The cons for Eventbrite are just straight up the fees. The fees have been going up, and they
Yeah,
just suck. Because like if you if you want the customers not to feel like they're taking the fees, you absorb the fees, but that just hurts your bottom line, and that can
yeah.
really suck. Or you pass the fees on to the customer, which that feels like it sucks because you feel like you got to like explain that to the customer every time they buy a ticket.
Yeah, or it prices out some people. Sometimes, especially
Yeah.
comedy shows that are, like, in the $5 to $20 range, the fees can be as much as 25% on Eventbrite.
Yeah, if somebody's buying like we'll do a lot of $20 tickets most of the time for our events. So if someone it's if someone's buying two tickets, it ends up being like $43,
Huh.
which can
I think and at the lower price point, it's even worse. If you charge, like, $8, sometimes it gets up into double digits for a single ticket. So, like, you're
it
trying
defeats
to
the whole purpose of trying to show that the ticket's under $10.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
and
Those
that
fees
sucks.
drive me crazy. Alright, what about some pros?
The pros, I mean, being able to embed your ticketing. I mean, I think other services do it, but being able to like, we have a website, so being able to embed the ticket link directly into the website,
Yeah,
very helpful. We can also do like a whole series of events. We do a lot of series, so being able to like add new events very quickly with like the same graphics and updated,
right,
and being able to like email attendees, very helpful.
nice.
Just a lot of tools that are nice to have, but
Sweet.
also like Eventbrite has their own marketing platform for like marketing through the Eventbrite
Yeah,
like
do you use
platform.
that?
We're working on transitioning to that for some things.
Okay.
A lot of people have told, like a lot of other producers have told me that they've seen a lot of good results from just, instead of like putting that money into Instagram or Facebook, but putting it into like Google ads or Eventbrite ads.
Huh. Interesting. Do you mean Google Ads outside of the Eventbrite marketing or
Well, like just advertising through Google's like search platform, like on the Google search engine.
okay, directly
Like,
with Google?
yeah, like you can pay to have your
Yep.
like searches, like
Yeah, yeah,
your,
yeah.
yeah.
Interesting.
And then also very good results from just using Eventbrite's marketing through Eventbrite.
Nice. But Eventbrite's marketing is just like funneling that money to Instagram, Facebook, right? Or do you
No,
mean
no, so like if you're, a lot of people will browse the Eventbrite app
okay,
like
yeah,
as a ticket
discovery.
buyer, and like it'll like put your event right in front of their face,
Got it. Huh.
like quicker or faster.
Yeah. Interesting. Maybe
And if
more
they're like already
premium.
on the platform, they're looking for something to do. So I think I'm just theorizing, but it probably translates to more like ticket buys or clicks.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Um, any crazy show running stories? Sounds like you worked at a comedy club, you're part of a comedy production company now. You run your own indie shows and a mic. You got to have a bunch of crazy stories.
Well, the magician story was actually at the comedy club, but
Okay.
because they used to share the venue with a group of local magicians,
That's a funny
and
sentence right there.
it's wild. And even more wild than that. So what they would do is they would do a weekly Tuesday night magic show
Okay.
at the comedy club, and I would get paid like $25 to like tech for them. This is like way before I was managing or anything, and this was at the old venue. So so I go there to tech every Tuesday just to like run their lights and sound and like play their music cues for whatever they need. And like I'll do like an announcement before the show via the microphone. But uh sometimes the magicians would like beef with the club owner.
Okay.
Like they would get into beefs every now and then. And I guess when we were like moving venues, they were beefing about that,
Okay.
or something like that. And usually I'll like do an announcement that's like, welcome to the comedy studio, welcome to like the Magic Lounge in the comedy studio, whatever, announce where the people are. And apparently I didn't know that they didn't want me to mention the comedy club's name in the announcement anymore.
Uh,
They had never mentioned it to me. Like
yeah,
why would they communicate anything to me?
right. You're supposed
uh
to you're supposed to know it, right?
I'm supposed to think the thoughts, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I do the announcement, and then after that, the like the biggest of the magicians. This is the only magician among the group that's like been on national TV. So he's like the big man.
Okay.
He uh he comes up to me in the booth right after my announcement, and he just starts yelling at me.
Can the
He's like
audience hear this? Is there an audience?
he's like whisper yelling, but it's
Okay.
like you can feel the intention that he
Okay.
wants to like scream at you.
His face is angry.
He's like, "Who told you to say that? I didn't tell you to say that." And he's just like yelling at me. I'm like, and then he leaves, and so the whole rest of the show, I'm just like sitting there stewing. I'm very stoned because, of course, I get high before the magic show. It's a very fun show, actually. Some of the magicians are really, really good.
Uh-huh.
But
I think like a lot of comics hate on magic. I love magic. We do magic at
honestly,
the jail.
I'm trying to get for our weed shows. I'm trying to get our booker to book more magic acts,
Yeah.
because they
It
would do like that's what like that's that high energy that you want, especially for stoners. You need them to give them something different
yeah, at the
to
Vail
like
Comedy
wake them back
Festival,
up.
we have a magician every year, and I have to beg comedians to come to the show. And like I run into people around the country, and the first thing they'll say is, "Holy cow, that magic show blew my mind!" Like,
Magic shows can be really, really fun. Like some of them do really great tricks. They have like good music. They do like very like they have to develop their own
I mean, it
like
had to
their
be
own
good.
tricks.
It's just like
Yeah,
comedy. Bad comedy is awful, and
bad
good
magic
comedy can
is
be incredible. And bad magic is bad, and but really good magic, it's magic. It's like really
it's
blows
kind
your
of
mind.
similar to improv, where like really good improv is very fun, but really, really bad improv is one of the most
Yeah,
painful things to watch in your
exactly. And
life.
I think a lot of adults maybe haven't been to a comedy show. I'm sorry, a magic show since they were children. and they think it's all
Yeah.
like they're going to be able to figure out every trick. And once they see a
Well,
trick,
that would
they,
explain why the
they-
Tuesday weekly magic show was very hard to fill up.
yes, I have a joke I tell on stage about not about poor audience attendance at a magic show.
I've seen it like week and week on end.
Yeah,
Sometimes they have good audiences where it's like a bachelor party or something.
uh,
But a lot of times it's like one table.
yeah,
But
brutal.
it's still fun. But so the whole time during the show, I'm just stewing. I'm thinking to myself, am I really gonna take this from a magician? I'm kind of laughing to myself because I'm like, there's no way I'm just gonna sit here and take this. So the manager of the venue is around. So I go up to him and I start like asking him questions like how much of the equipment does the club owner like own? Like how
Mhm.
much stuff has the comedy club invested versus how much like equipment has the magic show invested into like to the venue. He's like all of it's the club.
Okay.
He's like all of it's the club owner, like the microphones, any of the mixer upgrades, all the lights, like all replacing all the lights, everything, and the tables, all the club owner. They've like contributed almost nothing. The magicians have contributed almost nothing to this place, like in terms of investment wise,
Yeah.
other than like one set of blue curtains that we switch out just for their night, and that's it.
Huh.
And so I'm kind of like getting the numbers ready to be like, what are you talking about? This is all not even your place, man.
Right.
And so the show ends, and like I'm getting everything cleaned up, and then I'm getting ready to leave. A different magician hands me my check. I thought about ripping the check up, but I was very poor and in college at the time, and really needed $25. But it would have felt really good to rip that up. But I took the $25. But then I go up to the guy who yelled at me, and I tell him to not. I tell him don't ever talk to me that way ever again.
Nice.
And the
And he
audience is
sawed
still
you in
there.
half.
He thought about it, definitely. He definitely thought about it. But he starts screaming at me. The audience hasn't left yet. They're just like getting up. So the audience can definitely hear this.
Okay.
He's screaming at me. He's like, "Who the hell do you think you are? You're nobody." He literally said to me, "You're never gonna work in this town again." Which made me giggle very,
Yeah.
very much. That's a very funny thing to hear a magician telling you on a
Yeah.
Tuesday.
Especially in Boston, Massachusetts. It's not like it's a town of 300. It's
Oh man, I'm never gonna. This is it. And then I tell him, he's like, "Do you have any idea? This is all like, do you have any idea where you are?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm in the club that I work at. You're none of this is your stuff, man." And he starts screaming at me. I flip him off. He starts following me outside the venue, screaming that he's gonna teach me a lesson. That he's like a 65-year-old man.
okay.
So I was like, I'm not gonna beat up an old man in Harvard Square.
That's
Not
a
a good idea.
wild comedy club story. All right, let's we got to wrap this up.
Oh,
Let's
sure.
get one more lesson transitioning from comedy club manager to actual on-stage comedian.
I mean, one thing working at a club is helpful is getting stage time. If you like, a lot of
Mhm.
places will let comedians like work if you like work the door, work the tech booth, or like just work in any capacity. At some point, it'll lead to like stage time. Like, there's a lot of comedians in the Boston area that like used to work at a lot of the like old school clubs like Dick Doherty's or places like that, like Nick's Comedy Stop. And you work door enough, it eventually leads to getting some stage time, which is really nice, especially at a comedy club where you can like usually get guaranteed like decent audience size.
Right.
So like
Yeah.
I used to like when I was working at the club, I used to get some good opportunities where I'd get to do like 7 minutes in front of like a full like hundred people.
Nice.
And so
That's awesome.
it's
That's very
really
valuable.
nice,
That's
very
cool.
valuable.
Nice. All right.
And then like
Oh, go ahead.
hosting is very important. I've been so hosting the Littleton show and hosting my open mic now. I'm trying to like really get better at hosting. It's all about like just getting better at certain things. I'm trying to like write more or like trying to get myself to write more. So I'm
Hmm.
just like trying to challenge myself.
Nice. All right. So you run some indie shows. You're part of a comedy company. How can people find you? What do you want to promote as we wrap this up?
I mean, you can follow the group I work for. We're Comedy Party. Just look up Comedy Party Boston, and you'll look for a smiling moon, and you'll see us. We do
Okay.
like shows all over Boston.
Nice. Terrific, Eli. Stick around for a second. We're going to close this down. Any final thoughts before we get out of here?
No, thank you so much for having me. This was fun.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. This is Always Booking Comedy. This was a pre-taped episode, and we'll be back next Monday.